told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark.
Welcome to You Matter in Business with Ariel Faith, your brand, your story, and your success, because you matter in your business. Welcome to our podcast today. I have a very special guest. Her name is Paget Norton. She's in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we share some interesting experiences together that we wanted to share with the audience. And as you know, this is a dual audience. We're sharing with not only creative warriors, but also you matter in business, both speaking to women, but from a different point of view. And I really believe that based on Paget's experience and she actually fits very well in both of these audiences. So I'm going to share her in both. So welcome, Paget. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful morning here in California.
Yeah. It's not so beautiful in Florida. But anyway, so I wanted to say that you are a whole bunch of things. I mean, you're a very multi-talented woman. You are a teacher.
Yep.
You are a rock climber. You're a mother. I'm going to let you tell us the story about how you started with photography, because you are also a photographer and a very specific kind of photographer. When I went to your website, I was very impressed with your focus was on the essence of a person, which we resonate with very strongly. It was on telling the story behind the person for marketing and even for other, maybe it's their own documentation of their life, but it's more than just photography and pretty pictures. It's got strategy and thinking and depth behind it. And that's what I loved. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about for the next 2 episodes. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges and some of the challenges we have and some of the challenges the clients have as we work. And then the impact that our work does for others. Because that's the part that is the reason we're doing what we're doing, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with kind of like your backstory. So you have been camera in hand for almost 13 years. So tell us how that took you to your branding career now, or your photography career now.
So about 13 years ago, I had given birth 14 years ago and was feeling very self-conscious about my postpartum body. It had not bounced back, as they say, even with exercise. And a friend of mine invited me over to do a sexy photo shoot. And she's like, I have the camera. We'll take pictures of each other. It'll be amazing. And this is a friend I totally adore and I trust her. I thought 2 things. One, that sounds fun and it sounds terrifying. Like, who is going to capture my body as it currently is, So I arrived and she was doing her hair and makeup, which she's amazing at. And as we got ready, I was wondering how it would unfold. And the way it unfolded was amazing. So it felt incredibly empowering. It was this really positive objectification where she's like, you look amazing, put your booty in the air. And then I would, she's like, incredible. And then I felt that. I felt amazing. I felt incredible. I felt the same thing when I was shooting her. We didn't know anything about posing. We were spontaneously coming up with ideas left and right. Some of the photos looked great. Some of them looked terrible. But what I walked away with was the fact that it actually could be an incredibly positive experience. And over the course of the next year, I kept on coming back to the idea that I needed to get a camera. I'd been wanting to get a camera for a long time. And so I went down the research rabbit hole, ultimately came up with either Nikon or Canon and decided it didn't really matter at all. They were all just about the same. And right as I was about to buy my starter camera, I told my husband, I was like, I don't know if I should do this. It's $400. And he's like, you should do it. And I clicked pay and I felt teary. And I thought, wow, it feels big to me, although I didn't really understand why. So fast forward a little bit, I would been taking photos here and there with my camera, and part of my job at the university where I teach is to be embedded in art classes and work with international students in those classes. I was put in a beginning photography class, and after the first week, I decided to do the assignment. And so I went out, I'd bought an 85 millimeter prime lens, took a bunch of shots of my son, and then at the end of the second class, I went up to the instructor and I said very shyly, I did the assignment. Can you look at it? And it's totally fine if you can't or don't want to, like, I don't want to bother you, don't want to impose it all. And he said, of course. And he looked at my photos and said, you should do all of the assignments. Like, if I have time, I will look at every single one of them, but you should be shooting. And it kind of blew me away, but I kept on doing it. And so I think almost every week I brought in work, I got feedback, I learned a ton, and that propelled me forward with some technical knowledge because that's also what I wanted. Like at that point, I was only shooting in auto and actually making a shift into manual, even though it felt very awkward in the beginning.
And scary, yeah.
It's awkward and it's confusing and, the triangle of exposure, like, what is all this stuff? But I kept on taking photos, and then I would enlist friends to go on photo shoots with me. One friend in particular, she's like, "Let's meet at 2 o'clock." I'm like, "Great." Of course, now I'm like, "Oh my god, what was I thinking?" But went out, took a bunch of shots of her, and later on, she invited me to do a photo shoot with her family and said that she would pay me $50. I thought, "That's amazing, like, I'm gonna get compensated for my time, I can't believe this." So I went and I asked her if there were different family shots she had seen or poses. I'm like, "Is there anything you like?" And so she sent me some things, and I found some things on Pinterest. Because I work at an arts university, I see people go through a planning process with art. And even illustrators and like
Yes.
2D and 3D animators,
Yep.
they always use reference images.
Mhm.
And when I first learned about that, I was surprised by it. I thought people just kind of pulled things out of their heads and like came up with stuff. And that's not how artists, most artists don't work that way. Artists and designers actually have a planning process. And so
Operation. Yep.
totally, I thought I'm like, I wanna go in with references because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to pose people, I don't know what looks good. And so I showed up, I did a bunch of preparation, I showed up and we did this photo shoot on the UC Berkeley campus because there's some really beautiful areas in there. And afterwards, I spent time editing the images. And then I thought, wow, $50 is not much for the amount of time I put in to working with these images. And then she loved the shots, and that was great. And then the next photo shoot, I think I gave a sliding scale and I said, "Oh, if you could pay me between 50 and 100, that would be great." And he gave me 85. And again, went through a planning process, did the photo shoot outdoors, and I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of work for $85." And then the next person, I think I said sliding scale 100 to 150. So I noticed in those people always give me something in between. So she gave me 125 and she said, "Oh, you can just send me all the raw images. Like, I know how to do Photoshop." And I was like, "Great." So I sent her probably 125 raw images, and she got back to me and she said, "I have to say, I don't think your images are very professional." And I read this email she sent me and I got, I read it, and then I went to my husband and I just cried. And I was like, "I thought I'd get some good shots." And then at the time, I also had acquired a mentor and I showed her some of the images and she said, "Okay, first of all, never send or show raw images. That's like lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is she showed you some images of herself that she likes. They are highly edited. She
Yeah.
thinks they are not, but they are. There are a number of filters on them, and the photographer has done a lot of work on them. So that's something you should know. And number 3, let me teach you some different retouching techniques. So I did, I retouched the images and the client ended up being very happy. And about a year or 2 later, I was in some kind of exchange with that client and she said, I went back to those images and I just want to say I think that they're really amazing. And I was like, wow, okay. I appreciated that, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And
Sometimes the
number
hard
1 is
way.
never send a client raw, unedited images. So I don't do that. In fact, that's in my contract.
Yes.
So I continued, and every time I raised my prices, it was just scary. It's terrifying. The next person, I think I asked for $250. I felt like I was shaking when I asked for that, and she was like, "That's totally reasonable." And I thought, "Darn it, I should have asked for more," but I don't know if I could have. I think at that moment that was the right thing to ask for. Again, a lot of work. It was an indoor studio kind of thing where I knew a little bit about lighting because of the courses I'd sat in at my university, but I didn't know a lot. I did not use a reflector. Of course, later on, I regretted that during the editing process. I was like, "Oh god, it's a lot of work," and it was certainly there's no AI to work with, and that took many, many hours of editing to get those to her, although they're beautiful images. Even now, I think they're amazing. And so over time, I've really built out that process of working with people. We begin with visioning. It could be visioning for Boudoir, it could be visioning for personal branding, how they want to feel when they see their images, how they want their clients to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Start to tease out different aspects of their personality. And sometimes it's different roles that they play, sometimes it's archetypes that they work with. And then we'll start to layer in clothing. I tell them to go through their closets. So they go through their closets and I'm like, try stuff on. Sometimes things that used to fit a little differently now. Our bodies change. The thing that worked before doesn't work now. Or that favorite outfit that you had, you forgot there was a hole in it or a stain on it. Like, try everything on.
Yes,
And
please.
look at accessories. We look at, yeah,
Props.
whatever objects, musicians. I've definitely worked with musicians or people who do kind of more ceremonial work. So we bring all of those in. We create a Pinterest board together. I love using reference images. One, it helps me understand what clients like and what they don't like.
Yes.
I think with boudoir, I think that's so key there because there's certain images where one person's like, "Oh, look at her booties in the air. That's like the patriarchy." And then the next person is like, "Oh my God, I love that. You have to capture my booty." So, and I'm on this side of it. I'm like, great, it's what you want.
Right.
So, and also there's certain poses like I'm sure you've seen. I'm like that model makes it look really great in my experience. Normal people, us muggles, we can't pull it off.
Right.
No,
We have to move a little bit different.
totally. It's just there's a way in which models, if they're really good, they can embody a pose that might actually be very awkward on the body, but they know how to breathe life into it. And the
Yeah.
regular person is just going to look awkward.
And they'll look uncomfortable. And
Oh,
you know what I mean? All that. It's very important that they are comfortable because then it will come through their expressions.
mm-hmm.
If they
Yep.
are not, it will be very clear on their expression.
Totally. Totally. And then usually we take all of that, we do a pre-shoot meeting, which is typically in person. And occasionally it's on Zoom because they live far enough away, but I like to do it in person as a way to create more connection. And so what I tell them is the more comfortable you feel with me, the better off the shoot is going to be. And so I
100%.
work
Yes.
very relationally. It's not this transaction, which I think is generally what I see around headshots. You show up, I take a couple shots, you give me money, I give you your photos. We're creating a relationship here.
And
And
a strategy. And the strategy has it's specifically the work you do for the branding. It has a goal in mind.
Mhm.
It could be
Mhm.
a launch. It could be a speaking kit you're trying to create. I mean, so it has a purpose. So it's
Yep.
not just taking pictures that, show me. It's got a marketing strategy to it, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Often people are in a place where they are putting up their website for the first time.
Exactly.
So, and so I do think about it as I'm going through the images. I will talk to them about some of my strategies. I'm like, look, I created this one. It is a banner, or this is something where you could actually use for an event. So I've specifically, composed the shot so that there's a whole bunch of space on the right-hand side of the photo. And now
Yes.
you can actually put text there because
Hmm.
really we don't want text on top of the image of you.
Right.
We want it next to you. Or here's one here that I know when you zoom in, you could definitely use this for LinkedIn. Like some photos just don't work well that small. So sometimes when I'm doing a photo reveal, I'll have moments on Lightroom where I actually will make that image smaller so they can envision what it would look like as a really small image.
Yeah.
It's like we're strategizing and going through as they're picking their photos.
Behind the lens, crafting tales and news.
Bring your marketing, your brand to life with storytelling and strategy. Cut through the noise with clear messaging and compelling visuals that resonate with your ideal client. We bring strategy, story, and visuals to help you with your marketing. Visit arieljoyfaith.com and schedule a consultation and see how we can help you bring your brand
No
to life.
selfies here, just genuine sight. Authenticity in every light.
So it's not just they show up and you click.
Right. Never. Never,
Never.
never.
No, me
No.
neither.
I mean, I have done a couple of those and I'm like, yeah, I honestly just don't enjoy it, you know?
Yes, I understand that. And some people are harder to warm up when you just meet. Some will within 5 or 10 minutes, they're 100% them and they're
Yep.
having a ball, and others it might take 20, 30 minutes.
Yep.
So if you're only giving them 5 minutes or 15 minutes,
Yep.
you're not going to ever see that person behind that lens because they're not there.
Yeah.
So and everybody's different, and in terms of what they need in
Mhm.
to feel like they can be themselves in front of a camera, because a lot of times they feel like, well, if my neck you're going to see my double chin. I mean, we have like a
Mhm.
million things we don't like about ourselves that and that they're worried about all those fears instead of letting their beauty come out in the
Yep.
image. And that's what we as the professionals are trying to pull out. Of course, we use techniques. The
Yep.
lighting is critical to
Yep.
show lots of things. And that the power of the light is the thing that is amazing to show people.
Mhm.
Put that reflector up compared to no
Yep.
reflector. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
Because when
Yep.
we look at people, we see them in natural light or in a setting, and they're moving around. So the
Mhm.
lighting and the shadows are moving around.
Yeah.
But when a photograph is taken, it's a single moment. So whatever that lighting was is what it is. If it's
Yep.
harsh and shows a whole bunch of not very nice shadows, all of those things look worse,
Totally.
you
Totally.
know?
Yep.
So,
I think 2 things when I hear you talk about that. One is, in my experience, everybody shows up and is nervous.
yes.
Maybe professional models don't feel that way. I don't work with professional models, but I know that
I think even some do.
yeah, so everybody shows up nervous, even people who've had a bunch of photo shoots. And so I like to really normalize that, of like my experience is everybody shows up nervous. Maybe you won't, and that's great too. But if you do, just know like this is totally normal. So we're just gonna hang out with you in that space. So
Yeah,
it's
and
the
then
first
just start talking to them about
totally.
something else to get them comfortable. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
And
know
then
I'm very playful, and I
yeah.
cater to people who like to be playful, to be honest, or they're afraid to be playful, but they want to be.
Uh-huh.
They
Uh-huh.
haven't been given permission,
Yep.
especially the older they get.
Yep.
That doesn't mean they have to be playful in all their shots, because there is a different need for different personalities based on what their audience is, right? Their client base. So it's not that it's going to be forced, but I give them permission. So
Mhm.
some women, I will say, things like this is kind of like, you're playing dress up with your, you're a little kid, you're playing dress up and we're taking photos. So you can be comfortable in this because this is not you and you'll only see the ones that you're going to like anyway. So have
Mhm.
fun. Rather than it being like this very strict, orderly thing. It's I have to create the space where they can play.
Yep.
And
Yep.
of course, we have fun that way. So,
Totally. Interestingly, like, I find that when I work with everybody, but I notice that when I work with men, for example, I let them know, I'm like, "Look, I want you to know I'm holding the container, and you don't actually have to do anything, right? I've got it. Like, I'm gonna let you know I've organized the whole thing. You don't need to be in charge. I am in charge.
right.
So, let's just," and I would say that men really appreciate that. They're like, "Ugh, I don't actually have to lead right now." And then I notice that with women, if I say, "Look, I've got it handled," then they just relax. They're like, "Oh, okay, I don't have to worry." Because so many people bring their own worries to the front, and
Yeah.
usually at the beginning, I don't know if you have this experience, for me, often at the beginning, it's like, I just, I've got this, like, double chin right here, or one client was dealing with some kind of rash on her face that it wasn't resolving. And so I noticed when I arrived, normally she was very vivacious and she felt a little shut down. And she's like, "I've got this thing going on with my skin." And I said, "I just want you to know I can handle that in post production in a way that still looks very natural.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that anymore. I've got you." Right? "I've got you and I understand what's going on. So let me take that one off of your plate right now." Or, "Oh, you're feeling, a lot of stuff around your belly." "Got it. We're going to be working with posing that can totally minimize that." And in
Yes.
post production, I can handle things in a way that, that looks natural, because photos are two-dimensional and we're three-dimensional. Sometimes photos can flatten things out in a way that makes you look larger than you actually are. So I'm
Right.
gonna make you look like you, and you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yes.
I'm gonna handle that stuff, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So when you talk about your work with business owners, you have strategy.
Yep.
I'm just repeating kind of like what we've said already. There's a
Mhm.
huge amount of strategy, not only for the purpose of the images, but also for the desires of the client and the client's clients, right?
Yes.
So it's very tailored.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
not like they show up and they all sit in front of the same set and you do the same series of poses. It's very tailored. It
Yep.
includes a lot of lifestyle shots, or what they're called often in the photography world, where you are putting them in an environment that makes them happy
Mhm.
or that shows what they do. It might be, them working with a group of women in a yoga class or something, right?
Totally.
So if
Yep.
that's what they do. So it's not just about them, it's about
Mm.
what they do, how they serve, and how they show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about visual storytelling,
Yes.
when we're doing this. So if it is like an indoor shoot where, where is that indoor? What does it look like? How does it actually contribute to what they do? I worked with a professional writer very recently. And so part of what we did is we had her, she likes to work in cafes. And so it was, okay, we're going to sit you in a cafe. We're going to do a number of shots there. We're also going to set up the place across from you and create that possibility that it's like your client is there or showing up. So people have this experience of, oh, when I arrive at the cafe to work with you, this is what it looks like for me, you know?
Yes. The client journey is visually explained
Mhm.
rather than saying these are the 5 steps when you
Yep.
work with me. You visually show them the atmosphere, the comfort, and it might not even include, like, I do a lot that depending on the needs, but I like to kind of sneak behind the guest in the
Yep.
picture
Yep.
so that you're almost the guest in the picture and you're
Totally.
seeing the face of the business owner, right? So that's just ways to tell a story where I don't have to say any words.
Yep.
The power of
Totally.
the image. Yeah.
I work
So
with a number of, like, personal coaches where they do like relationship coaching or different types of coaching.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love doing outdoor work. Like in the Bay Area, there's so many gorgeous locations out here. And I do a number of like top of the world shots. And so part of that conversation is like, okay, we're going to do a sunset shot. We can have it overlooking, the ocean. And at the same time, we might have somebody walking down a path. And I said, for a lot of people, that presents the idea of possibility, right? So we have a
Right.
wide open view. You are guiding us on a particular path, on a particular journey. And that's what you do with your clients. You take your clients on a journey and you want them to feel possibility.
And
So,
you want them to see what they're attaining, what is their inspirational identity at the end? What will our journey bring you to?
yep,
Where are we going together? Yeah,
yep,
100%.
totally, totally.
I wanted to talk about the issues that we have with clients. And we have seen this. We talked about this earlier between the two of us, but we talked about the confidence shift that happens and then the ripple effect that happens across their lives. And for me, I know that's one of the reasons my heart was drawn to this work was because of the impact it had to the woman
Hmm.
3 years later,
Yep.
a year later. It impacted the way she showed up in person. It impacted the way she showed up in her family.
Yeah.
It impacted in the way she showed up for herself.
Hmm.
So, talk to me a little bit about that and share a couple really good either testimonials or experience where you really felt like you had really helped a woman beyond the photography session.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, one of my superpowers, I think, comes from like out of my own wounding. And part of my own wounding is that I don't matter. Right. And so I've created a life where as a teacher, as a photographer, like I really matter. I'm front and
Why
center.
it's you matter in business. That's
Totally.
100%. Okay,
And
keep going.
what that also means is that I create an experience where my client has a powerful experience of really mattering
Yes.
and feeling being seen.
Yes.
So often women, especially because I shoot women often over 40, but I would say more typically over 50. And they are in a place where they're feeling more invisible than ever.
Yes.
And they haven't had an experience, and I think very few people have, of spending whatever 2, 3, 4, 5 hours with a person where I'm like, you are my entire world right now.
Mhm.
I see you. I see you showing up nervous. I see you worrying about things. I see you coming out and playing with me. I see you having fun. I see you getting vulnerable. Like I am seeing all of you right now and holding it in a very both loving, creative, and directed way, right?
And that has the effect of I know when I have helped women feel seen and when they get the photographs, they have acknowledged that you saw me in the photograph,
Yep.
and that's what came through the photographs. So I know how powerful that is personally, and I know you do too. But
Mhm.
what are we giving that woman that she may not have had in a really long time?
Yeah, well, I'll share a client example. And
Okay.
so this is a person that she's in her early 60s. She is definitely on this incredibly powerful journey, this path. She's a medicine woman and a ceremonialist. And so during our photo shoot way up in Northern California, I had these moments of shooting her. We did some outdoor boudoir stuff. We did a whole bunch of other things. And I remember going back to her house and she said, Paget, I'm having these moments and I'm looking at the mirror and society is telling me, who are you to think that you are sexy and powerful? And then I have this experience of you telling me and showing me that I am sexy and powerful. And there's both cognitive dissonance between those two experiences, and
Mhm.
yet I'm still feeling sexy and powerful. And so talking to her after this photo shoot, she was like, wow, it's not only permission, but it's a really profound acceptance
Yes.
who I am.
Is
And
enough.
she's like, and it is rippling out and it continues to ripple. Another client told me after our shoot, she said, "You showed me the future of who I am." And
That's
she's
powerful.
like, and it's still, and I'm still feeling that. Those photos have shown me something about myself that I'm like living into that future right now. So I think that that is the power of photography.
Yes, it is. And you brought up something very interesting because I was doing this work with one of my staff, and we were going through some brainstorming, and we were talking about helping a person transform versus helping a person. Like, we hear a lot in older life, it's like you're starting new, it's your second act. We hear a lot of those statements,
Yep.
and those don't resonate with me because I really feel like we're all inside and we never left.
Yeah.
We just didn't necessarily weren't we had other things to do.
Hmm.
We had other people to take care of, and we were perfectly fine with that. But then when they're up and gone and moved and now you have space, you're kind of like, all right, what's going on now? And you feel all these things that you have not had the time or the permission to deal with at
Yep.
this later stage of your life. And you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was done with all this work.
Never, never.
Never, never. And then for me, it's more like you get to find the person that's been there the whole time
Yep.
that you have loved since you were 5.
Yep.
You get to be that person because when you're 5, you are who you are.
Totally.
You
Totally.
don't, you don't have that. You don't care about other people usually at 5. Some might, but anyway, this is a general statement.
Yeah.
But
So true.
we get to be that person on the inside, and we
Yeah.
let it comes through the outside.
Yeah.
It comes through our eyes, it comes through our body language, it just comes through, and it has that ripple effect. Well, this was a great conversation. We are going to come back again with another subject, talking more about some of the transitions that and how being a brand photography helps a business owner, a businesswoman be
Mhm.
more visible and be more confident. So we're going to kind of dig into a little bit more of that in our next episode. So thank you again.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. A total pleasure.
See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success because I know that you matter in business. Thank you for listening to You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. I would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Storytelling Marketing and Your Brand Photographer. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and more information about this episode. Thank you again. They told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark, lighting up the dark. Rediscover your own fire, chase the dreams that lift you higher. Redefine your role today, brand new in every way. Build your confidence through my lens, break the walls you put up since. Embrace your power, hear your roar. You are meant for so much more. You are meant for so much more.